got rid of DEI, and now less white men are going to school.
You guys, this is actually so hilarious. Trump's ban on DEI is going to make it harder for white men specifically to get into college. Add this to the list of evidence that we are all inside of some type of collective coma, because I don't think that real life could be this ironic.
Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into one of the biggest debates that's going around diversity, equity and inclusion, DEI, and a twist that's got a whole lot of people scratching their heads. Turns out white Americans, especially white men and women, may have been the biggest beneficiaries of DEI in practice. And now, with the Orange Man's recent push to ban DEI, college admissions and hiring are seeing a wave of anger, confusion, and reactions are spreading, especially among people who thought DEI was meant for people of color. So today I want to walk you through what we actually know, what's surprising about the data, and why a lot of folks, including white men and women, black folks, and people of color are now reacting on this. Buckle up.
All right, racists.
You better think about what you're saying. You better think about the consequences of your actions. You better think.
Let's have a little chit-chat about your latest update. So the white menses aren't getting accepted into college, I hear. In fact, the double-digit drop of white male enrollment is the lowest of any demographic ever. You're hitting historic lows not seen in decades. No wonder you guys wanted to end the requirement for a college degree, because you're clearly falling below the metrics of getting accepted into these universities. And now your dumbass actions from your lame DEI rollbacks only hurt you, once again, white men. It's the type of karma that comedy shows are written after. Is this the reason why you've been scrambling? Looking for someone to blame? For a conspiracy to explain why you can't get in the door? There is no conspiracy. There is no sophisticated foreign plot. There is only truth that you've spent centuries running from, coming to bite you right in the ass. That in an equal playing field, whites simply cannot qualify. All the noise about DEI was never about helping anyone else. It was a life raft for a drowning race. It was the cultural and institutional padding that kept you in the game. When the raw numbers said you should have been on the bench, you started crying and called it unfair when the playing field was leveled. Because a level field revealed that you weren't the star athletes you believed yourselves to be. You were just the guys who have been paying the referee under the table to manipulate wins. And I'm sure that you pathetic people will scream that this is an attack. You have to. The alternative is too devastating for your entire identity. To admit that you're failing on merit is to admit to the core lie of its civilization. That you were never great because of intellect or because whites had higher IQs. Which is a bold-faced lie, because you people are literally idiots. You just wrote the rules to exclude the people who are actually superior. And then you gave your illiterate kids participation trophies. Now the rules are fairer, and you're losing. Not because the goalposts were moved, because you never learned how to play ball in the first place. This is your reality. It always has been. The curtain's just been pulled back and you're standing there on a stage built for giants, looking very, very small.
What is DEI supposed to do? First off, the original idea behind DEI was fairly straightforward. The goal was to shine light on systemic inequalities like race, gender, sexual orientation, etc., and the level of the playing field in workplaces, universities, and other institutions. Now, in theory, someone from marginalized background, historically excluded or disadvantaged, gets a fair shot at hiring, promotion, or admission. The twist: who actually benefited the most? Here is where things start getting messy. Several analyses suggest that the bigger winners under many DEI efforts were not black people or Latinos, but white women and now white men in colleges. Most corporate data show that white women disproportionately captured more senior level jobs and leadership positions than women of color or minority men. According to one employment search site report, a large share of chief diversity officers roles were filled by white women. Meanwhile, black and Hispanic professionals, especially black women, despite DEI efforts, remain underrepresented in C-suites and high-paying professional jobs. This isn't just academic footnote. It sparked a kind of collective wait, what? when people started digging into the demographics of who actually got promoted under DEI versus who arguably still struggled. So yes, DEI may have expanded opportunities for women in general, but the gains were unevenly distributed.
Got rid of DEI, and now less white men are going to school. Interesting. The reason why this is happening: when you get rid of DEI, you get rid of access programs into college and graduate programs as well, right? More women are going to school. Okay, the girls want to go to school, they want to get their education, they want to be smarticle particle, okay? Less men are going to school. Not because more women are going to school, but they're just not going to school as much, okay? Which typically happens when things become female dominated. Men are like, oh, school's not important all of a sudden. So what they do is they need the ratios for the classrooms to be the same. Like 5 or 6, right, of men and women. So what they'll do is in these certain programs that foster relationships such as first-gen students, students from certain areas, rural areas where they don't really have education programs, they'll reach out to them to bring them into college programs to help them get into school, right? To equalize these programs. And programs also are there to equalize the numbers of men and women. So they'll accept more men because they're trying to keep the numbers equal. But when you get rid of them, do the math. What they didn't account for when they pulled that back affirmative action was how when you pull back affirmative action, you pull back DEI, the girls are still going to go to school. People of color are still going to go to school. But the men are not. Less of them will. These programs actually are there to pull them into school. Okay? To make it look attractive. We pull back the programs like the nonprofit organizations, the after-school programs that support people going to school. I worked for a nonprofit called College Possible that directly got removed because of the current administration that worked for children or high school students to get into college and to stay into college. DEI does not include just Black people, and I don't think they understood that. It also includes people with disabilities. It also includes people from different backgrounds who are poor. It includes so many different kinds of people. They focused so much on being racist that they missed out and realized, oh my gosh, this benefits us too. So now, next year's enrollment, they looked at it. Less white men are going to school. Less of them are going to be applying. Less of them are going to be having access because of this. Because you guys got rid of this stuff. I might call this karma. I call it math, numbers, and using your brain. If you look at projections for the future, if you think about who these are predominantly for, I'm not saying a lot of these programs aren't for people of color, immigrants, and women, because they are, but there are still a quarter of people who this is for.
It should come as a shock to literally no one that white women have been the largest beneficiaries of DEI and affirmative action. Like, my grandma never graduated high school. My grandma couldn't get a credit card in her name. My grandma could never hold the jobs that I have had the opportunity to receive because I had the opportunity for higher education. So if you are a white woman and you think when Republicans are talking about gutting DEI, they're not talking about you, you are sorely mistaken. We are 2 generations away from being forced back into domestic life with no opportunity for financial stability on our own. That's what they're coming after.
The primary beneficiaries of such initiatives have not been minorities. The truth is, the primary beneficiaries of such policies have been white women. Well, this is the truth because some argue that if DEI only ends up helping, already somewhat privileged groups, the whole thing becomes an empty promise and maybe even a trap. Others lament the collapse of DEI because they see it not just as identity politics, but as a safety net in institutions that still discriminate. For them, losing DEI is losing the one push to fairness. But is it really fairness if the people who are benefiting are not the people who are supposed to be benefiting? You let me know in the comment section. Let's keep watching.
One of the biggest tools the white supremacists use to control the general population is jealousy. Not just fear of minorities, but fear of minorities being more successful than you as a white person. Because implicitly, deep down, they know that they have a significant advantage over every single immigrant, over black and brown people in the US. Because of factors like racism, all you have to do is look to the government and see how white and how conservative it is. But they cannot accept the fact that somebody who came to America 5 years ago, didn't know any English, and was able to work themselves into society, get a good paying job, and take care of their family is more successful than them. They can't accept the fact that there are people who have come to America and done better in a system that was built for them. That is why I believe that a large portion of racism and bigotry in general is rooted in jealousy. It's not just about white people wanting to hoard the resources, it's about white people wanting to hoard them so other people don't get them. They would rather see people of color fail than another white person succeed, because it's never been about success, it's been about preventing others from doing well. That sort of spite is what keeps them going.
White women not realizing that they were diversity hires themselves is the reason why I don't consider myself a feminist anymore, in a nutshell. Like, I find that feminism is, especially like feminism of today and in the Western society, is much too concerned with this fictitious oppression of white women and trying to close the gap on white women with white men while ignoring the issues of brown women, black women, maternity, or like mortality, indigenous women, women all across the globe that are being vehemently oppressed in ways that we haven't for decades now, but still, they're still women. And I find that feminism cares a little too much about things that aren't genuine issues unless you are a white woman. You know what I mean? And I don't feel right anymore just being like, no, yes, I'm a feminist. I'm borderlining on being a misandrist, to be honest with you guys.